welcome to episode 62 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 8th of March. So we're nearly coming into spring, everybody. I do love when the seasons change, it makes it so interesting. So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, Facebook as Craft House Magic, and I have a website, crafthhousemagic.co.uk, where you can find some handmade knitting related items like project bags, hand-dyed yarn and stitch markers. But what I'm going to also do is transfer my show notes over to the website, and you'll be able to find on the tab on the left hand side, you'll be able to find, it should be this side for you, on the tab on the left hand side you'll be able to see like blog and show notes, and if you click on that it'll take you straight to the show notes page. I think that'll be easier to find because a couple of people are finding it difficult to find them on the down bar because it's sometimes a bit of a pain to get to click on. I will leave links in the down bar to my website and to my social medias though still. So I've got no shop update this Friday. I'm going to leave everything till the 15th of March, and I'm also a day late with my podcast. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you'll all not miss it too much for one day. I've also resorted to drinking cola today because I've started this podcast about 6 times already and just ended up talking complete gobbledygook, which I am starting to already. Oh dear. So, I've got the Edinburgh Yarn Craft Along going on in the Ravelry group, where we're chatting about all the things we're making for Edinburgh Yarn Festival. That includes knitting, crochet, anything fibre related. I'd love to hear about it. So we're all having a chat over there in the Ravelry group. But if you're not actually going, it doesn't matter. People are joining in when they're just sort of pretending that they're going, and making lovely things that they can imagine that keep them nice and warm in Edinburgh while the show's on. So don't forget to join in. What I'm going to be doing, I'm going to draw a prize from the discussion thread, but also I'll open a finished objects thread, and that'll be open by the time the podcast's finished. And out of those finished objects, I'll pick out a prize winner for there as well. So there's 2 prizes for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival Craft Along. We will be having an Edinburgh Yarn Festival knit night on the 21st of March at 7 p.m, and it's at the Hampton by the Hilton in Edinburgh West End, and there's a Ravelry group over on Ravelry which has the details of postcodes, etc., and you can come and chat to us there and tell me you're coming, just so that I've got a rough idea of how many people are going to be there. So that'll be lovely. But lovely Naomi from the Cozy Cute Knits has actually given us a lovely suggestion. So for those people who can't get to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, I'm going to open a discussion thread over in the Ravelry group sort of the night before Edinburgh Yarn Festival knit night. And so you guys can have a chat over there to pretend you've been. So if I open it the night before, that'll allow everybody all over the world to make sure that they've got that day to have a sort of a knit day, really, because people are awake and asleep at different times. So hopefully that'll fit for everybody. So that's going to be lovely. Thanks for Naomi for that lovely idea. So the Edinburgh Yarn Festival Craft Along will be finishing just after Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I will give you a few days after the Edinburgh Yarn Festival to make sure that you've got all your entries put in and the discussion sort of finished before I draw for those winners. So we're going to have a shawl along after that. So me and the lovely Caroline from the Love to Sew podcast have teamed up, and we're going to do a shawl along together. We may change the name though, we haven't decided yet. We're going to have to chat about that. But we shall tell you a bit more about that in a later date, so watch out for next week's podcast. So we've got this week, we've got some knitting, some sewing, gadget, and a little bit of Ask Me Anything questions. Right, so I better get Barbara over. Come on, Barbara, come and show me what I've been knitting. Oh, Barbara, look. So I did tease you guys a little bit. So on Instagram, I popped a picture saying that I'd finished one sleeve, but I'd actually got nearly to the end of the other one when I'd actually posted that, because I wanted to leave it for a surprise on the podcast. So you can see that I finished 2 sleeves now. I'm not quite sure if you can see on camera. I think you can. You can see all my progress keepers that I've got along the arms there. So I didn't follow the pattern when I was doing the decreases on the arms. I basically just kept trying it on, and I marked where I did my decreases with the stitch markers so that then on the second sleeve I could make it match, so that's good. I forgot to say what pattern it was. Not a good start. So this is the Cherry Bloom cardigan, which I've been calling the Cherry Blossom cardigan. Some kind viewer actually told me, Ellie, you're numpty. No, she didn't say that. She was very polite. I don't know why. I'd obviously read it as the Cherry Bloom to start with, and then decided that I was going to call it the Cherry Blossom. But it's definitely the Cherry Bloom. Look, it says. But it's by Lena Tosti. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. So that's what it's supposed to look like. And this is how I've got so far. So it looks like a jumper at the moment, but I've got to steek it. I thought that at the end of the podcast, I'd show some footage of me steeking it. So I haven't done it yet, obviously. But I thought I'd show you the critical moments of me cutting it open. So I haven't ever steeked a cardigan before, so I wasn't going to do it as a proper tutorial. But I shall let you know the tips that I've picked up, and you can see how I get on. See if I accidentally cut other bits. Hopefully not. So, more or less finished, really. I think I could probably get away with wearing that if worst comes to the worst. Of course, I think I'll have to take these stitch markers off because I don't think they're particularly practical. So I've got to steek it, knit the bands on the front, which are going to be in 1x1 twisted rib to match the other parts, and then I've got to pick up stitches from my waste yarn at the top here and just knit the neckband, if I can speak properly today. So hopefully I'll have completely finished it by next episode, and you won't have to look at this cardigan ever again, because I seem to show it on every episode for the last about, I don't know, 2 months or something crazy. So I will be having some different things to show you. I'm so sorry. Hopefully though, these little things that I've picked up might be useful to some of you anyway. So, ta-da! I'm loving the way that the fabric actually fits me and everything. I noticed, like I said before, the colour work had pilled slightly because I'd handled it quite a lot, but I have just used the gleaner to get some of that fluff off. Hopefully that the rest of the cardigan doesn't fluff up too much as I'm wearing it, but I'll sort of save it till the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and I'll think, well, if it fluffs up, it doesn't matter. So the yarn that I'm using is 100% merino, and it's a non-superwash yarn, and it's a John Arbon Knit by Numbers. The grey is the colour 5, I think, and there's 2 pinks up here. They're 77 and 79. Don't ask me which way round they are. And it's a brown, and I can't remember what the number of the brown is. I have noted it on my Ravelry page if you are interested, for the vines in between. So hopefully you won't have to see it again too much on the podcast, and hopefully I'll finish it for Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Fingers crossed. So, if you want to stick around at the very end of the podcast, I will show a little bit of footage of me steeking it. So hopefully that goes okay. So right, thanks Barbara. We better get on to the sewing section. So last week I showed you a head that looked decapitated. But now we have a full body. So since the last episode I've made a body parts, I've added the legs into the body, and I've also attached some little arms. Isn't she cute already? But she looks way cuter with the clothes on. Let's get this book. So this is from the Luna... I've just nearly hit myself in the face with the book. So this is from the Luna Lapine book by Sarah Peel, and I absolutely love this. Gorgeous. So you can make different garments. I'm going to do the dress next, I think, but I definitely want to make that coat at some point. And there's a gorgeous armchair I'm going to have to make, which I showed you on the last episode, I think. But there we go. I've actually finished her main body, and I recorded a little bit of footage of me sewing the buttons onto the arms and attaching them to the body, because somebody asked me to put a little bit of footage on how to do it because they were having trouble attaching them to the body. I think that the actual construction of the arm itself is quite self-explanatory, where you stitch around the felt piece, leave a gap, stuff it, and then just stitch the rest up, and then you attach the arms with some buttons, and I'll just insert a little bit of footage of me attaching the arms now. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to attach the arms of Luna Lapine onto her body. So I've taken some thread and I've picked out a milliner's needle, which just means it's quite a long length, so that I'm going to actually be threading this right through the body, and it just makes it a bit easier. So I don't know what size this needle is, but I didn't pick one that's too fat because I don't want to make huge holes in the felt in her body. So I've doubled the thread over, and I'm going to make a knot on the end. That's just a quilter's knot. There we go. So I think I want her arms about here. I've studied the book, and I think in order to make it so that her jacket fits, you need to have them quite high up. So I want to attach her arm there, so I'll dip into the fabric so that it's attached there. I'm just going to snip the end so that the end isn't sticking out very much. I haven't cut the thread, it's still attached. And then I'm going to make sure I've got the right arm facing in the right direction. I'm going to pop the needle through the centre of this arm piece here. So it's there, and then I'm going to attach with some little buttons. So I've picked some buttons that I think go nicely with the felt and match quite nicely with the eyes, and I'm going to pop the needle through there. I'm going to place the pin, I'm going to place the button in the place that I want it to look nice, and then I'm going to start threading the needle right through the body of the little bunny, so it comes right out the other side. And I've tried to position it so that the thread comes out at a position that matches up with the other side. So I'm going to attach the second arm there, just checking that it's in the right place. Then I'm going to grab the second button, go through one of the loops and come back in. Let's just make sure that's in the right place. And then I'm going to come right through the body again and try and make it so that the needle comes through the hole in the button, which is going to be a bit of a pain. Oh, I've managed it! And I want to make sure that the tension is correct so it doesn't pull the body in too much. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of tension just to hold it together. You can see how that's coming. And I'll pop that through. Back again, and I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to put the needle back through the body again and try and make it so that the needle comes through the button. So I'm going to go back in through this button on this side and try and get it through the button, but if not, I shall just pop the needle through just the back of the button here and pull it through, get into the right hole. Give it a little bit of a tension so that it fits nicely, and I'm going to go through a couple of times exactly the same way, keeping the tension nice between both sides. And once you've got it through a couple of times, I'll go through the button, but just go through that side of the felt, and then we can secure it. I'm going to just make sure that they're attached closely enough so that they're holding in well enough, but they're not pulling in the body too much. And then I'm going to wrap the thread around the button, and then I'm going to tie in the end at the base of the button and bury my end. Cut the end off, And there we are, she's got some arms. That was the magic of technology. So I'm so sorry I can't remember who it was who asked me to do that, but hopefully that's useful. And I'm hoping that the footage is okay, because it was a bit of a nightmare trying to make sure that I was in shot all the time, with it being quite a fiddly thing to do. But isn't she cute? She's a she because she's got pink ears. I think that I'm going to do her dress in this Liberty print fabric, because I think that's really cute. I think that'll suit her, because I didn't want it to match completely, but it sort of matches. Somebody was saying that she'd never seen somebody who had ears match their dress, but you gotta go with these things. So there we are, that's my sewing for this week. I'm afraid a lot of the stuff that I'm sure, well, I've only got really 2 proper projects to show you, is what I showed you on the last episode. But next I've got my gadget. I haven't had this very long, but I'm thinking I'm loving it already. So let me show you my older. So I've got like a sewing gauge, which is measured in inches, that I've had in a little while. But I ordered this recently, and it's a prim one, and it's in centimetres, and it's in a clear plastic, and I'm finding that really useful at the moment. To measure things in centimetres rather than, because this is just in inches. So to have those 2 alongside each other has been really useful. So if you wanted to measure sort of seam allowances, so there's different measurements. So this is 1.5 centimetres, there's 2.5 centimetres, and 3 centimetre measurements, and then there's obviously a ruler across the other side. And I just find that quite useful, that they've just cut a centimetre out so that you can measure things quite neatly. So there we go, that's my little gadget. I don't often get as many gadgets these days. I was totally running out. Now I'm doing them once a week. So it'll just be every so often if I find something I think you'll find interesting. So finally, I've got the Ask Me Anything question, and it was the lovely Terry who was asking me, can I show you how I do my purling? So I'll pop a little bit of footage of me showing you how I do my purling. I don't know whether you'll find that interesting, but don't forget, after that I'll be showing you how I'm going to steek my cardigan, which is really scary. So this is actually my northeasterly blanket, and it doesn't actually have pearls in as such, but I'm just going to use it to show you how I purl, just because it's the easiest project I've got to hand that I can just undo really easily. So when I'm purling, well, when I'm normally knitting, I just wrap the yarn around this finger and then over the top of my index finger, and then I scoop the yarn, wrap the yarn around like this. I don't know if it's probably not the quickest way how to purl. Let's get a bit closer to the camera so you can see. So there we go, that's how I purl. Hope that helps, Terry. I think that's everything for today. It's going to be a bit of a shorter one, I think, this episode. Hopefully that you'll find something interesting in that. I will be showing you some different projects next week, hopefully. Of course, I've got to get Luna's dress done. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. And I shall hopefully see you next week. Thanks, bye! So, I'm planning on steeking. It's a bit scary. I'd had a little look on the internet for some tutorials, and one of the ones that I found was quite useful, that my lovely friend Jo pointed me to, was the Mason-Dixon tutorial, which I'll leave a link to in the show notes. They didn't actually suggest doing this first step, but I've read about it on a few different websites as well. What I'm going to do is, to make sure that I know what the centre of the cardigan is, I'm going to tack right in the centre along the stitches so that I know exactly where I'm going to cut. And I've decided, after looking at some different tutorials, what I'm going to do is, once I've marked the centre, I'm then going to zigzag stitch either side of this marked line, and then I'm going to cut it. So see how it goes. So I'm using a size 18 tapestry needle, and I've picked up some yellow cotton because I thought it would show up really well. I'm being careful to only pick the stitches from this top layer of knitting rather than grabbing from the row below. So I've tacked all the way down the front of the body so it's nice and easy to see where the straight line is now. So I'm going to get my sewing machine out and try and zigzag close to this tacking line either side so that it's not going to fray. This is non-superwash yarn, so it might be okay not stitching it, but I'm too paranoid, so we'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully that it won't be too bulky. It is a 4-ply, so it's not really thick, so let's see. So I'm going to dare to stitch a zigzag stitch on my machine either side of this yellow line. So I've picked a foot that I thought was quite a nice fat stable foot so that it wouldn't sort of slip. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but we'll see. I've set it to a 3mm zigzag stitch. I'm thinking that might be okay in length and width, and I've reduced the pressure foot tension right down to 1. So normally it's on 6.5 on my machine for a standard cotton, but I've reduced it down to 1. I probably should have done this on a swatch first, but let's just go for it. I'll test a few stitches and see how it goes. Looks okay so far. Let's keep going. So I've been all the way down the one side. I think that's okay. It's not looking too puckered or anything, so I'm going to go down the other side of it now. So I've now finished stitching either side of the yellow. And I'm going to leave the yellow thread in until I cut it, because where I've stitched, because I've used a grey thread to match, I can hardly see it. So if I just cut along where the yellow thread is, I should be okay. What I think I'll probably do is overlock after I've cut this on my overlocking machine, just to make sure that it's completely enclosed and is not going to come undone, just because I'm really paranoid. So I'm going to cut this, and I'm a bit worried about cutting the back panel, so I'm going to I've got a quilting ruler here. I'm just going to pop inside just so that I don't cut the underneath layer, because that would be awful, wouldn't it? So I'm going to use that and move it up when I get up a bit further. I could use some cardboard or something, but that's the nearest thing I could grab in my craft room. Sure, so I shall go ahead. I'm going to get some scissors. This is scary. Ah. Hopefully this will be okay. I could always just stitch over it again, because there's a little bit of leeway that's going to be folded over. It should be okay. I'm cutting. I'm going to cut it. Ah! I've only snipped a tiny bit and I'm already scared. This is terrible, isn't it? I'm using a small pair of scissors because I'm a wuss pants. I'm going to worry about getting rid of the yellow thread later. It'll probably end up getting cut and I'll end up having to pull out little bits, but I'm sure that'll be fine. Look, it's cutting! Well, it's actually as scary as I thought it'd be. Hopefully it doesn't unravel. It feels like it's relatively secure, but I think I'll feel better if I overlock it as well. getting there. This is quite exciting. Well, you can feel that it's thicker here where the colour work is. I'm so paranoid, I'm just putting my hand underneath so I can feel it. So I don't cut into anything I shouldn't. I can't see where it is. Let's go here. Ta-da! We're separate. Woo! Let's feel how this is. So yeah, it feels relatively stable with the zigzag stitch. I'm glad I zigzag stitched it. I don't think that this merino is grabby enough. It might take me a while to pull out all these bits of yellow thread, but that really doesn't matter. Once I overlock it as well, that'll make me feel much more secure. I'm ready to overlock. Wish me luck. There we go, that's nice and secure. There's a little bit of yellow thread stuck in there because I stitched over it when I zigzagged, but that'll be fine because what I'm going to do is when I sew the inside down like that, I'm going to perhaps put a bit of ribbon just to make it look neater so you can't see the overlock stitches. So I'll do the other side now. Yay! There we go. It's probably a little bit messy, but once I cover that with some ribbon on the inside, hopefully that'll look really neat. Sorry, you can't really see very well there. So that's the overlock edge there. Right, so thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing me steeking, hopefully not panicking too much. It's not quite as stressful as I thought it'd be. But there we go, it's time to pick up my stitches now down the front band.